Let's start off in the local arena. What sense are you making of the market movements we've seen, where we started off on a pretty positive note, but now having fallen back into the red?
I think we opened positive this morning on positive futures. The positive futures looking strong this morning, expecting good, strong PMI numbers out. The market seems to be divided, though. Down the middle, with lots of caution being thrown to the wind. The Chinese numbers coming out in terms of the restriction on lending, comments saying that we could expect the Shanghai Composite Index to fall another 25%, that it's overvalued at the moment. And then you have the other half of the market who's looking at strong PMI numbers going, there are expectations for consumers to start spending.
Well, looking at the picture, I mean, we've had good economic data being released, as you've reflected, suggesting improved prospects, but consumer confidence, and particularly U.S. consumer confidence in particular, and employment figures aren't showing the degree of improvement that we're seeing elsewhere. So do we have to wait for a turnaround in those arenas before we see any sustainable recovery here?
Yes, Alishia, when one looks at those numbers, unfortunately, I think the market has priced in that in terms of the States, we're going to see unemployment, come out or reach 10% by the end of the year. We did see the Eurozone unemployment numbers come out worse than expected. And really, if the consumer doesn't start spending, we're not going to see a sustained recovery.
So, having said that, how would you be playing the markets right now? Where exactly would you be directing your money?
I would be in more defensive stocks right now. I think they're called the sin stocks. Your BTI, your SA breweries, your pharmaceutical stocks like Aspen, ShopRite, your retailers that focus at the lower end of the market in terms of pricing. Really put your money in defensive stock because they're going to return over the long term.
Well, playing in that defensive space, it seems that you have quite a diversification strategy that's that's at play going into that space. With the nervousness surrounding the commodities sector right now, how are you approaching the resources sector? Because certainly commodity markets remain nervous about the strength of Chinese demand, in particular the fear, of course, that, as you said earlier, Chinese lending curbs would cool its economic recovery and keep a lid on demand.
I think in terms of an investor, one would have to look at your stocks with good balance sheets or stronger balance sheets. Like Billiton is more defensive than your Anglos. Exara is still a buy. Look at within your sector, which stocks are more defensive? I like Billy's.
Well, let's take a look at some of the companies within that space that have been making news today. AngloGold Ashanti making an equity offer, saying that they're issuing 7.8 million new shares to fund an acquisition. How's the market actually reacted to that? It seems not too positively.
No, and in terms of the offering, one looks at it really just highlights the state of the balance sheet for AngloGold, that they have to raise cash to participate in the 50% stake of Motor Gold. And I think investors are wary and looking at balance sheets. And that really, investors weren't happy with that.
Looking at balance sheets, looking at productivity levels as well. I mean, Merafe was the other company that's stood in the spotlight today. It's saying that it's increasing its capacity to produce after having suspended 80% of its venture capacity on the back of increased demand. How have you read that move by Merafe?
I think that's quite important. If you look at copper prices globally, they have been steadily going higher off the good numbers in terms of housing out of the States. Copper would remain overweight in the next 6 to 12 months. And it really, if you look at ARI, came out this morning with a comment they're going to be opening up a new mine. So copper really being the commodity at this point. And, we're seeing the upward trend. So I think in terms of Merafi's decision to go forward, and we're seeing the demand coming through. I think it's a good decision for them.